The mistake happened on a rain-soaked evening in downtown Chicago, the kind of night where the city looked lonely despite all its lights. Michael Carter, a single father barely holding his life together, stood outside a luxury hotel room with a bouquet meant for someone else, unaware that this small error was about to change the direction of 2 lives forever. He was tired, soaked, and thinking only about getting home to his young son, never imagining that the wrong door could open the right future. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that arrive without warning, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them the most. Michael had not planned to be a single dad. Life had made that decision for him years earlier, leaving him to raise his son Noah alone after a sudden tragedy that stripped his world down to bare survival. He worked long hours for a small floral delivery service on the south side of the city, waking before sunrise and returning home after dark. His hands were always rough, his back always sore, but his heart stayed soft because every dollar he earned went toward keeping Noah safe, fed, and loved. On that night, his boss had begged him to take one last delivery, a high-end order to a luxury hotel downtown, promising extra cash that Michael desperately needed for rent. The hotel itself felt like another universe. Marble floors, soft lighting, and the quiet hum of wealth made Michael feel invisible. He checked the delivery slip quickly, too quickly, and headed to the room number printed in bold ink. His thoughts were on Noah, probably asleep with the hallway light on, clutching the old stuffed bear Michael had rescued from a thrift store. When the door opened, Michael stepped inside the edge of a life he could never have imagined. Jonathan. Reeves lived alone in rooms meant for celebration. A self-made billionaire who had built a technology empire from nothing, Jonathan owned more wealth than he could ever spend, yet his days were hollow. Success had come at the cost of connection, and by the time he realized how lonely he had become, he no longer knew how to let people close. That evening, he had been sitting in silence, staring at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows, marking another birthday spent alone. When Michael entered with flowers meant for someone else, confusion turned quickly into something neither of them could name. Michael apologized repeatedly, embarrassed and ready to leave, but something in Jonathan's exhausted posture and distant eyes made him pause. Jonathan, surprised by the warmth in this stranger's presence, asked him to sit for a moment, not out of authority or wealth, but out of genuine human need. Michael hesitated, knowing time was precious, but he stayed. In that quiet room, 2 very different lives brushed against each other for the first time. They did not speak in dramatic speeches. There were no grand confessions. Instead, there was honesty that flowed naturally. Michael spoke about working endlessly, about raising a child alone, about fearing every unexpected expense. Jonathan shared, in his own reserved way, how success had isolated him, how every relationship felt transactional, how the world admired him without knowing him. The flowers lay forgotten on the table as the rain continued to fall outside, and something shifted gently between them. Over the following weeks, the memory of that night refused to fade. Jonathan found himself thinking about Michael's quiet strength, about the way he spoke of his son with pride rather than bitterness. Through discreet efforts, Jonathan arranged for the flower service to continue sending Michael on deliveries nearby, not to manipulate fate, but to allow it space to breathe. Their encounters became regular, then intentional. Coffee replaced chance meetings, and shared silences became as meaningful as conversations. Michael struggled with doubt. He knew the gap between their worlds was enormous. He worried about judgment, about being seen as someone chasing wealth rather than stability. Most of all, he worried about Noah. His son had already lost one parent. Michael refused to risk another emotional wound. Jonathan, on the other hand, faced his own fears. He had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him for so long that trusting genuine affection felt terrifying. Yet, for the first time in years, he felt grounded. When Jonathan finally met Noah, the story deepened. The child's cautious curiosity, his quiet intelligence, and his immediate comfort around Jonathan revealed something neither man expected. Jonathan, who had believed himself incapable of nurturing anyone, found purpose in small acts like helping with homework and attending school events quietly in the background. Michael watched carefully, ready to protect his son at the first sign of instability, but what he saw instead was patience, respect, and consistency. The challenges did not disappear. Public attention threatened their privacy once rumors surfaced. Differences in lifestyle created moments of tension. Michael wrestled with pride, determined to remain independent, even when Jonathan offered support. Jonathan learned that love meant compromise, not control. They stumbled, argued, questioned their choices, but they never stopped choosing honesty. Slowly, the fear that once defined them began to loosen its grip. The turning point came not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet realization. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep on the couch between them, Jonathan understood that the loneliness he had carried for decades was gone. Michael realized that strength did not mean doing everything alone. In choosing each other, they were not escaping their pasts, they were honoring them. If this story is already touching your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this only survive because people like you believe they matter. Their wedding was simple, held in a small garden just outside the city, surrounded by a few close friends and the laughter of a child who finally felt secure. There were no headlines, no spectacle, just two men who had found family in the most unexpected way. Michael continued working for a time, not because he had to, but because he valued dignity. Jonathan used his resources not to impress, but to uplift, funding community programs that supported single parents like Michael once was. Before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the word hope if you believe that one small mistake can change a life forever. Years later, when Michael looked back on that rainy night, he no longer saw it as an accident. He saw it as proof that kindness travels quietly, that love does not announce itself loudly, and that even the loneliest hearts can find home when they least expect it. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that the world still has room for grace, please engage with this video and share it with someone who needs to believe again.